peuple gabonais et garant de la protection des institutions, avons décidé de défendre la paix en mettant fin au régime en place.
So guys, without further ado, you all must have seen the title of this video. So Ali Bongo has been put out of power by the Gabonese military junta. The military coup happened around 12:30 a.m. on the 30th of August 2023. This comes after he won a third term to be the president of Gabon for 7 years more, with a 64% of the vote, while the opposition had just 30% of the vote. When Ali Bongo's victory was being aired out to the general public through the Gabonese national TV that he had won the third term in power with 64% of the vote, it was aired on the 29th of August. All of a sudden, 12:30 a.m. on the 30th of August, there was a military coup. The military juntas who have taken over power in Gabon are saying that they did all of this because Ali Bongo was not supposed to run for a third term, which is 7 years in power, and also that they did all of this to maintain the peace of the Gabonese people, because the Gabonese people are tired of the Bongo family being in power. Remember that Ali Bongo succeeded his father, Omar Bongo, who had been in power as president of Gabon for 40 something years, and his father died while in power. He came in power around 1967 and died around 2009 while in power. Then Ali Bongo won the election around 2009 and he's been kicked out of power in 2023. In 2009, when he won the election, there were so many Gabonese people standing against him. They said he did not win the election was totally rigged, and that is why he was being pronounced as the winner in the 2009 election. That was his first time of him running as president of Gabon, succeeding his father. After 7 years of him winning the election in 2009, 7 years after that, 2016, Gabonese people went again to the polls to vote for a new president, and Ali Bongo again won. This time he won 84% of the vote, while his opposition back then, Jean Ping, won just 10% of the vote. So Gabonese people were totally angry. They said no, he had rigged the election and they don't want him in power. They protested, and he totally banned the internet in Gabon. He blocked the internet, so the Gabonese people could not really protest for everyone to see internationally. So that is how that protest died down, and the military was in the street. He warned the people of Gabon that if they dare go out of the street, they'll be shot and killed. So everyone was inside their houses, being scared. From 2016, when he gained power for his second term, to 2023, he was paralyzed from the one side of his body. That is, I think it's the left side of his body. He was being paralyzed, so he couldn't walk properly. And the Gabonese people were like, this is the end, let him leave power. But he refused to leave power. He still went again for a third term during the 2023 presidential election, and right now the Gabonese people were fed up. Even the military was so fed up, because there was no way they can put a man who is physically incapacitated to be the president of Gabon. Like, look at how he walks. This man is physically incapacitated and he still wants to be the president of Gabon, for the third term. It's crazy. Gabonese constitution allows for a third term mandate, because when his father was in power, he abrogated the 2-term mandate, of president to be in power, your first term, your second term. He increased it to infinitely. So a president can be in power like for 1,000 terms if he can live right up to that amount of years. So Ali Bongo came to power. He didn't abrogate the infinite term of a president being in power. He decided to continue with the legacy of his father, that is, going for presidential election after every 7 years infinitely, not after 2 terms, but infinitely. The Gabonese people were like, this is enough, this man has to leave power. And they were already protesting, when the election was carried on. They were already protesting. They said they don't want Ali to run again for a third term. Ali has been in power for 14 years. He should just leave power totally. He's paralyzed on the one side of his body. He's physically incapacitated to be, in power. And they are so sick and tired of the Bongo family in power. This is a political monarchy. He succeeded his father. And if he dies in power, that means his son will become the next president of Gabon. They don't want it. It's not a monarchy. It's not hereditary from one member of the family to another. They want the Bongo family out of power. So the protest was too much, which the military decided to conduct a coup and remove Ali Bongo from power. Like I said, the reason why the military removed Ali Bongo from power is simply because Ali Bongo, they said they had to maintain the peace of Gabon. And the people of Gabon have decided that they don't want Ali Bongo in power. And they are so in shock how Ali Bongo won 64% of the vote. And if Ali Bongo could continue for his third term in power, the people of Gabon will keep on protesting, and it can become a civil war, something of which Ali Bongo is from a different tribe, while the opposition members are from a different tribe, and Ali Bongo's tribe is the minority while the opposition members are the majority, and it can become a tribalistic civil war in Gabon, and they don't want that. They want to maintain the peace in Gabon and keep Gabonese people safe, and that is why they decided to put Ali Bongo out of power. This changed the total, the future of dictators in power in Africa. We've seen the white tornado which had happened throughout West Africa. The Sahelian nations like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Guinea, they all conducted a coup and removed their president in power because their president was side by side with France. And the people and the military were not in favor of France, of their leaders being side by side with France. So France-Afrique has three regions in Africa. You have the northern part of France-Afrique, which is, the Berber people of Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania, and yes, all of these northern African nations. That is the northern part of France-Afrique. Now we have the western part of France-Afrique, which has to do with ECOWAS, without the English colonized nation in it. That's the western part of France-Afrique. Now we have the Central African part of France-Afrique, which is made up of Chad, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Gabon, Congo, Equatorial Guinea. Now all of the leaders, leading these nations in the Central African, part of France-Afrique are all dictators. The president of Cameroon has been in power for 43 years. Ali Bongo, was going for his third term in power. So that means he was already in power for 14 years. You have Denis Sassou Nguesso, who has been in power for 30-something years, who came in power around 1997, right up to date 2023. That is him being in power for 26 years. But we have now Teodorin Obiang Nguema Bassongo of Equatorial Guinea, who has been in power since independence. He's the longest serving president in power. He has been in power for how many years? 46 years. For 46 years, he's the longest serving president in power. And this is crazy. And he took over power from his brother, who was the first president of Equatorial Guinea after independence. Immediately after independence, he was the first president of Equatorial Guinea. Now we are seeing in the case of Chad, the former president of Chad was killed by his son, who allied with France to kill his father. So we saw when the Niger coup happened, Idriss Déby's son, the president of Chad, went over to ECOWAS and was telling them that there must be an invasion because he does not want his people, to conduct a coup, or the military conducting a coup, removing him from power, because it's the same thing. It is family being in power. When the father dies, the son takes over. When the son dies, his sons takes over. So people are fed up of that, and this means military generals are being emboldened to in these African countries where they are dictators, especially in Central Africa, whom all of these dictators are in bed with France. These military generals who do everything possible now, being emboldened by these coups which have been happening throughout Africa, West Africa and Central Africa. So they'll be emboldened, to take over power. And let's not forget that West Africa is still plagued, by presidents who are side by side with France, like Macky Sall of Senegal. Then you have Alassane Ouattara, who is, the backbone of France in Africa, the president of Ivory Coast. So this is crazy. The people of Cote d'Ivoire are sick and tired of Alassane Ouattara. They want Alassane Ouattara out of power. So they are sick and tired of Alassane Ouattara. So these dictators throughout Africa will be watching this closely, because they might be the next to be out of power. So guys, what do you all think? I'd like to get your thoughts down in the comment section.